Shalom, first and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahushai, Ba'Hashem, Rukakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone, who are teaching this truth in sincerity. And a shout out to Yakim, out there on four corners of the earth proclaiming this truth. Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahushai, Ba'Hashem, Rukakadash, Bracha Dam. So, yeah, here in Redding, my neck of the woods, there's now a measles outbreak, especially for those that, been coerced into taking vaccinations, man, are mostly those that have been infected with it, because you know how this devil operates, and this storm, these storms that have been happening is bringing in all that, because they're chemtrailing us over the storm, so that's just bringing it in a lot more quicker. So here's this headline.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Haley Watts. We have breaking news tonight. There are 2 confirmed measles cases in Chico, in addition to 1 in Shasta County, and they may have traveled to Tehama County as well. Luna Noss was at the press conference in Chico today. Luna, you've been following this story all day. What can you tell us?
Haley, I can tell you that the 2 confirmed cases are both in adults who haven't been vaccinated. Butte County sat down with both patients to find out where they've been and who they've been in contact with. Both adults are now past the point where they're contagious and can't spread the measles to anyone else.
Measles is a highly contagious illness. It's also highly preventable through the MMR vaccination. If you haven't been vaccinated, we urge you to vaccinate yourself and your family by contacting your local doctor.
And that's just it, though. The devil's going to push you to get vaccinations, which you know that's going to kill you in the long run. And then, of course, more on the New Zealand shooting, whether it be fake or real. We'll just focus in on it, that pretty much they're coming for the guns. And most of all, though, what will you have to defend yourself with? Because they are going to take it from you, so you should never live by the sword to begin with.
According to Business Insider, New Zealand officially banned the 74-page racist manifesto written by the suspected gunman behind the deadly mosque attacks in Christchurch on March 15th. Anyone found to possess the manifesto could face up to 10 years in prison, and those caught distributing it could face up to 14 years in prison. The country's chief censor said he is treating the document like ISIS propaganda, which is also banned. The country has already banned the possession and distribution of the 17-minute live stream of the attacks. Experts say the ban could backfire and risk making the gunman look like a martyr and the document forbidden fruit.
Yeah, Esau would love to be a martyr, because that's what he tries to do. You hear it all the time, like them playing victim recently with the flooding of, or rather the fire that destroyed Paradise. It's like, well, how'd you conquer that to begin with? You raped, robbed, and murdered, So, no, man, you ain't no victim. You're a terrorist. So now dealing with earthquakes in diverse places, Montana's been getting quite a few shakeups here. While you still know about the flood in Midwest, man, this Passover ends tonight. And look at all the things that are actually happening right now. You got, pretty much, we're considered a terrorist group, even though we're not any black affiliated groups. Most of us, a great portion of us aren't even so-called black, but they like to throw that label on there. Either way, though, free speech is being slowly taken away, as well as guns and everything else. Because, of course, we know, though, that what's about to happen is the shaking. And we can see, though, with this earthquake over here, it's just the Most High shaking things up a bit.
Hey everyone, I'm Mary with Mary Greeley News. Well, the earthquake continued to shake southwest Montana. They had a magnitude 3.2 that was felt all the way down there at Yellowstone. This morning, according to the USGS, there was a magnitude 3.2 earthquake 25 kilometers southeast of Seeley Lake, Montana. It was near Shoup Lake Lane. The nearest town is Ovando, about 6 miles to the south. Missoula, Montana is about 38 miles to the southwest. It was most likely stronger than a magnitude 3.2. Monitors at Yellowstone Lake, 225 miles away, measured it as a 2.85 and a 2.95. Heben Lake at Yellowstone measured it as a 3.38. And Madison River monitors measured it as a 3.39. Here we got Heaven Lake. That's the earthquake right there. And there was 2 before that, which of course aren't reported, and a lot of little ones. Yeah, harmonic tremors right there and right there. The northeast entrance of Yellowstone measured it as a magnitude 3.65 and a 3.49. On February 21st, a magnitude 3.8 earthquake rattled southwest Montana late that Thursday night and was the largest in a sequence of quakes at the north end of the Gallatin Valley that dates back to October. Mike Stickney, director of the Earthquake Studies Office at the Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology, said there have been also many small quakes, ones too weak for people to feel. Stickney referred to the seismic activity as a low-intensity swarm. If there's one aspect that's surprising about it, it's that it persists for this long, he said. On March 21st, there was a magnitude 3.1 near Lincoln, Montana, at a depth of 15 kilometers. In the last week, just in the Manhattan area, there has been 7 earthquakes, 2 being a magnitude 1.3. The Lincoln, Montana area has had 11 earthquakes in the last week, the largest being a magnitude 2.3 on March 20th. The center of February's quake was a little less than 4 miles north of Manhattan, according to the USGS. It happened about 11:44 p.m., and people across the valley, even as far south as Big Sky, reported feeling it. The USGS received more than 500 reports from people who felt the quake. Patrick Lundgren, Gallatin County Emergency Manager, said he'd received no reports of significant damage and wouldn't expect any with a quake of that size. USGS data showed the other 7 quakes all happened within 4-mile radius of Manhattan. The epicenter of at least one was at the west end of the town. This event proves it wasn't quite done yet with what it's going to do, he said. He added that there aren't any recognizable active faults in the area, but the region is part of the Intermountain Seismic Belt, which runs from the Flathead Lake region to Yellowstone National Park. It had a depth of 10 kilometers, and all earthquakes are measured from sea level. So did you feel this magnitude 3.2 earthquake? I'm sure the people that lived right there did. And did you have any damage? If you felt it or recognized some damage, put your report down below. Please subscribe. It's the end of the month, and YouTube.
And here is another famine that's going on. This being in Yemen, which is totally caused by Esau, because we know that Amalek is Saudi Arabia, is the United States, pretty much the whore. And what it's doing, it's horror all around. So here's a report from Yemen. And you don't think that this devil won't do that to us? Yeah. Look at what's happening with all the crops being destroyed in the Midwest and here in California as well. You know, pretty much our resources are there, are pretty much being destroyed. So you know that this devil would not hesitate. I mean, just look at what Car Fire did to the population here. You know, pretty much most. It used to be about 30% was homeless. Now you can say at least 40% is homeless. You know, and you already see what he's doing in Venezuela as well. You know, people scrambling to get water from the gutter. That's what's going to happen here, man. This is coming to Babylon the Great, because look at what it's doing. Look at what it has done.
إذا عادت عفاف إلى المنزل فهي حتما ستتضخم المشكلة عندها، ستصاب بأورام. المسكن، المياه، كل هذه تكون عامل مؤثر على صحتها خلال يومين، مش خلال أسبوع ولا شهر.
Children did not start the war in Yemen, but they are paying the highest price. Some 360,000 children are suffering from severe acute malnutrition, fighting for their lives every day.
Yeah, this measles outbreak here in Reading is just the beginning of things that this devil is doing over here. So yeah, all the resources are being destroyed, and Saudi Arabia, in the mix of it, and you can see Brazil as the new launching spot to take out Yemen. And of course, we know about this devil, Donald Trump, declaring the Golan Heights as part of Amalek, the Israeli state. So this is a reason why you're starting to see chemical weapons being used there. I'm just surprised they haven't said that Bashar al-Assad did it, but the terrorists are doing that in Idlib, which we'll get into that probably in the second part of this video.
After recognizing the entire Jerusalem as capital of Israel, President Trump once again violated international law by posting the following tweet: "It is time for the United States to fully recognize Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights," adding that it was of critical importance to Israel and stability in the Middle East. In 1967, Israel invaded Syria, Egypt and Palestine and occupied during the Six-Day War the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, the Golan Heights and the Sinai Peninsula, which later traded for peace with Egypt after the Yom Kippur War of 1973. During the 1967 war, between 80,000 to 130,000 Syrians were forcibly driven from the heights and around 7,000 remained in the Israeli-occupied territory. Today, around 50,000 people live in the Golan, with Israeli Jewish settlers making up nearly half. The rest are Syrian Druze who have largely resisted obtaining Israeli citizenship and have maintained a strong connection to Syria for decades. In 1973, Syria attempted to liberate the Golan Heights through force, but the betrayal of the late Egyptian President Anwar Sadat has foiled the operation. In 1981, Tel Aviv passed a law that extended Israeli laws, jurisdiction, and administration to the Golan Heights, which means de facto annexation of the Syrian territory. The Golan Heights law is not recognized internationally and was declared null and void and without international legal effect by the United Nations Security Council Resolution 497 in 1981. UN Security Council Resolutions 242 and 338 also called for complete and immediate withdrawal of Israel from the Golan. The successive American administrations also referred to the Golan Heights by occupied land, but Mr. Trump wants to change this situation in favor of Benjamin Netanyahu before the embattled leaders bid for a fifth term in hotly contested elections scheduled for April 9. The Golan Heights borders Palestine, Lebanon, and Jordan. Its high altitude provides it with observation points deep into Syria. The rocky plateau has an average elevation of 1,000 meters. Mount Hermon, its highest point, towers 2,800 meters over the surrounding area. Therefore, whoever controls the Golan has a serious military advantage. In addition to its strategic importance, the Golan is also home to important water sources, like the Sea of Galilee and the source of the Jordan River. Above all, a big oil deposit has been found in the occupied Golan Heights with enough reserves to last Israel for decades. This potential production may reach billions of barrels, while Israel consumes 270,000 barrels per day. The American Genie Energy Company pursued the illegal oil exploration project in the occupied Golan Heights. On the Syrian side, when we check the leaked details of Syrian-Israeli talks, the least thing Damascus accepts is full withdrawal of Israeli occupation forces to the line of 4th of June 1967 in exchange to security arrangements with Tel Aviv. It is clear that a range of political and economic factors govern the United States' decision on the occupied Golan Heights. But in your opinion, how will this problem be resolved? I'm Kevork Almasyan and you are watching Syriana Analysis.
Hi everyone, Syrian Girl here. Trump tweeted that the US will recognize Syria's Golan Heights as Israeli. The Golan Heights is Syrian land that was invaded by Israel when Israel started the Six-Day War in 1967 and attacked Syria. The Golan is internationally recognized as Syrian land. The UN Charter protects the sovereignty of nations, and it is against international law for a country to invade and claim ownership of another country's land. Iraq, for example, didn't become the 51st state of the United States. The Golan is not Trump's to give away. He's not the king of the earth. And all of Syria is for Syrians. His statements doesn't change the status of the Golan. So what's the meaning behind it all? Well, Israel found oil in the Golan Heights, and a company called Genie Energy was set up to steal it. Guess who's on the board of advisors? Jacob Rothschild, world banker and descendant of the creator of Israel. Dick Cheney, oil tycoon and Iraq war architect. Rupert Murdoch, media mogul, who's always pushing for war. And there is the president of the company, Ira Greenstein. Greenstein is a member of Trump's administration, and he has deep ties to George Kushner, Trump's son-in-law. And Kushner also has ties to Israel's President Netanyahu. Kushner spent sleepovers at his house when he was a kid. So Trump personally stands to profit from the theft of Syria's Golan Heights.
And I take the oil. And I said I'll take the oil.
Well, I'm not looking to quagmire. I'm looking to take the oil. I want to take the oil. I want the oil. And I've been saying that for a long time.
Take the oil. I would take the oil. Right. You heard me. I would take the oil. Why don't we just take over the oil? We should take it. Bomb the oil, take the oil. Bomb the oil, take the oil. Just take it.
He's ready to put American lives on the line for this. His statement won't make any difference to the Golan Heights' official status as being part of Syria, but it does mean he is committing the US to perpetual war with Syria, Iran and Russia, and the continued occupation in the east of Syria and possibly a US occupation of the Golan Heights too. Lieutenant General Richard Clark said US troops who would be deployed to Israel are prepared to die for the Jewish state. Trump has no shame. The US is the world's largest crude oil producer. It doesn't need Syria's minuscule amount of oil, yet it's trying to take away Syria's oil-producing regions, the east of the Euphrates and the Golan. He's stealing from a tiny country ravaged by war and terrorism. A war caused by US neocons like himself. A war caused by Israel, its Oded Yunon plan, and its support of terrorist groups. Israel openly admitted to supporting Al-Qaeda in its war against Syria. It used the Golan Heights as a safe haven for the terrorist group. It admitted to giving guns to Al-Qaeda-linked rebels, as well as providing medical aid. UN peacekeepers witnessed Israel handing boxes of weapons to Al-Qaeda and ISIS. When a journalist asked the head of Mossad why he has no problem helping Al-Qaeda, he said Al-Qaeda hasn't attacked Israel.
Okay, you say no preference. There have been reports that Israel has been treating wounded Syrian rebel fighters in its hospitals on the border, including fighters from Nusra Front, which is, of course, the Al-Qaeda proxy in Syria. Do those reports worry you that Israel's helping wounded Al-Qaeda-aligned fighters? You don't think there's going to be blowback against Israel if you get into bed with a group like Nusra Front?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be blowback.
So let me be clear, you're happy to treat Al-Qaeda fighters, but not Hezbollah fighters?
We have a different account with Hezbollah. Al-Qaeda, to the best of my recollection, has up to now not attacked Israel.
But it's attacked your number one ally and protector and sponsor, the United States of America.
Holy fuck! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Israel's defense minister said that he would prefer an ISIS victory in Syria. Israel hoped that Al-Qaeda would take over Syria in order to legitimize their annexation of the Golan Heights. They would have claimed that they're doing it to protect Syrian Druze that live inside the Golan Heights from Al-Qaeda. But Al-Qaeda didn't win. Yet Israel decided to go ahead with their Golan annexation plan anyway, even though they don't have any convenient justification. Of course, it's been Israel that's been terrorizing the Syrians inside the Golan Heights. When Israel invaded Syria in 1967, they set fire to 340 villages and farms in the Golan. 5 Druze villages survived, and for the next 50 years, they would live in an open-air prison, separated from their families and the rest of Syria by a demilitarized zone. If Syrians in the Golan want to see and talk to their family members, on the other side of that zone, they have to climb up to Shouting Hill and use a megaphone. Syrians who try to resist the occupation become prisoners of war, one of which is patriotic hero Sidqi al-Maqt, who spent 27 years imprisoned by Israel. As soon as he got out, he learned how to use the internet, took pictures of the IDF hanging out with Al-Qaeda, and uploaded them online. Israel sentenced him to another 15 years. In the war of 1973, Syria was able to liberate parts of the Golan from Israeli occupation. One of the villages liberated was Qunaitara, which was found completely in ruin. This is a historical testament of Israeli barbarism and the fact that they tried to commit genocide against the Syrians of the Golan. But it's not just about oil or the fact that the Golan has much of Syria's water. Israel wants that land for religious reasons. Israel is similar to ISIS and Zionism is akin to Wahhabism. Neither is really Judaism or Islam, but they both believe that Syrian land was granted to them by God. Since the Judeans invaded Aramea 2000 years ago, in the same way that ISIS thinks Spain belongs to them because the Moors took it over once. ISIS leader al-Baghdadi said that Syria is not for Syrians. And Trump and Israel are in agreement with him. Like ISIS, Israel was built by foreign fighters from all over the world that joined the terror group Hagan, Irgun and Levi.
We start in the harbour at Haifa, among still more shiploads of illegal Jewish immigrants seeking homes in Palestine. Meantime, the roundup of terrorist killers goes on. Manacled ex-lieutenants of dead gangster Abraham Stern,
which genocided the indigenous populations of Palestine. They burned down a Christian town during Christmas. Later, these groups combined to form the IDF. In fact, it's not just the Golan they want to take over, but they want to take over all of Syria up to the Euphrates River. Israel's first Prime Minister Ben Gurion said, "The Jewish people have another map which our youths and adults should strive to fulfill, from the Nile to the Euphrates." Of course, they want the land without the Syrians in it. From Palestine to Syria, we are witnessing a Levantine genocide. I don't know why these international terrorists, whether they be Zionists, ISIS, Ottomans or Kurdish separatists, want to take Syrian land. It's like a curse. If you think the religious aspect of this sounds insane, let me remind you that Trump made this announcement during Purim, a Jewish religious holiday, which this year happened to fall on Nowruz, a Zoroastrian equinox holiday celebrated across Persian countries. To top it all off, the US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said he believes Trump was chosen by God to help save the Jewish people. Pompeo was talking to a room full of evangelical Christian Zionists when he said this. The Syrians of the Golan are protesting the Israeli occupation, an attempt of theft of their land.
الرابع عشر من شباط هو يوم الدفاع عن الهوية العربية السورية، ونحن نعاهد الله والوطن شعبا وجيشا وقيادة ممثلة بالسيد الرئيس الدكتور بشار حافظ الأسد أن نبقى أوفياء على العهد وأن نبقى مدافعين عن هذا الوطن حتى تحريره من المحتل الصهيوني. وأملنا كبير بجيشنا وبشعبنا وبقائدنا أن يرفع العلم العربي السوري في ربوع الجولان الحبيب.
Syria has announced that it is determined to liberate this precious piece of Syrian land through all available means, and it's unfortunate that American soldiers are being put in the crossfire. I want to assure you all that Syria expected this Golan Heights move. It's been a plan all along, and the cause of the war. PNAC, the project for a new American century, the project for a new Middle East. But Syria has a plan too. Syria will resist, and every inch of Syria will be returned, including the Golan. This is Syrian Girl. Subscribe, press the bell, and support. Thank you for listening. Over and out.
So again, this comes in the, aftermath of Donald J. Trump saying that Golan Heights belongs to Amalek. I'll get in more about Amalek and the recent attacks in Hamas, the Hamas terror group that they control, which Hamas, like I said, is a controlled opposition. But anyhow, this one's about the terrorists, which America supports and has been moving into Iraq. Well, they're being wiped out in the Idlib province, so like everything else, they're being wiped out. They go ahead and launch this. Breaking, jihadist rebels attack northwest Hama with suspected chemical weapons, 20 plus hospitalized. And so this came out on Saturday. I do apologize, this fucking piece of shit goddamn devil is putting a lot of goddamn fucking pop-ups so I can't read. So again, there's a video that came out, and I'm going to play that in just a second here, but yeah, man, this is continuing, man. Over 20 people were hospitalized this evening after the jihadist rebels launched a big assault on the towns of Rasafaf and Izra in northwestern Hama. The victims have been since transported to the Al-Saskala hospital, where they are being treated for asphyxia related to the jihadist attack, which are the terror groups that the U.S. controls. Below is a video obtained from the hospital in northwest Hama. So we'll see if I can get that to play. If not, I have it on Press TV. Let's just try to go to Press TV for a better view. This thing's fucked up. So yeah, these terrorist groups that the U.S. supports are the ones that did this. So this is why it's being ignored by the mainstream, is because there's no doubt that the terrorist groups are the ones that did this. So these videos are the ones that are real, and yet the fake ones is the reasons to bomb, right? So you can see though, man, this terrorist, which is you Edomites, you red Hebrew Edomites, this is what you do. And this is why not just us, but the whole world is fucking sick of you. And we can't wait for you motherfuckers to die. We fucking hate you just as much as they do. We hate you more. You fucking piece of shit. Again, I do apologize for this pop-ups, but that's just what this devil does if you're to look at this site. But the other thing that's been breaking as of late is U.S. reportedly gave Israeli state green light for full-scale war on Gaza. As you know, that Amalek's been wreaking havoc as one of their opposition groups, Hamas, fired rockets into Tel Aviv. So yeah, so now they can launch their war of terror. Damascus, Syria. According to news reports, the U.S. have given Israeli state a green light to launch a full-scale military operation against Gaza. Approximately 7 hours ago, a rocket was fired from the Gaza Strip, hitting a home in the north of Tel Aviv and injuring 7. Israeli state blamed Hamas for the rocket fire. However, there's been no confirmation of who fired it. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin, not a Jew, was on a trip to the whore Babylon the Great and was due to deliver a speech to the Israeli state lobby group AIPAC on Tuesday. He has announced the cancellation of his speech and headed back to the Israeli state, declaring that Israeli state will now strike the Gaza Strip. Hamas have allegedly communicated through Egyptian contacts to Israeli state that they will respond to the Israeli state aggression. Israeli state have placed the Golan Heights Brigade on standby, stationed the military surrounding Gaza, declared the surrounding settlement villages close to the perimeter of Gaza as closed military zones. And you can best believe that this thing's going to escalate. Of course it's going to make it escalate. But wait, there's more, because remember what I was just saying? Well, they have another article here. They report, you decide, was Hamas really created by Israel? You know, because we know that, you know, any time, man, just, okay, well, the shit, they just launched a rocket over here. We got to declare war on Gaza. Even though, you know, so they question that narrative. Were Hamas created by the Israeli state to push a question that is both dividing and confusing people across various topics, various fronts? And that's just it, though, is they, you know, control this opposition group, even though the group may not have started out that way, but it's controlled opposition. Of course it is. They control that now because who runs the media? Who's in power now? You know, we know that them gutter rats, the Amalekites, are the ones that control everything, so they control the narrative. And that's what they do whenever they want to launch their war of terror. But you know what this is going to lead to, which brings me to the final part of this. Isaiah chapter 17, starting in verse 1. The burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. The cities of Aurora are forsaken. They shall be for flocks which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. And you can see, though, that everything's leading up to this, especially with Syria declaring that the Golan Heights belongs to them. They will fight for it. And now you got Donald J. Trump, the whore, Babylon the Great, declaring that Golan Heights belongs to the Israeli state, Amalek. The fortress shall also cease from Ephraim, which really means from Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, and the kingdom from Damascus. So pretty much, you know, our strong tower, you know, our ability shall be taken away also in this time. And the remnant of Syria, they shall be as the glory of the children of Israel, saith the Most High of Hosts. So again, you know, they're coming after us. Ultimately, when we see them coming after Syria, they're going to be coming after us, one and the same. And in that day it shall come to pass that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin. Again, you know, you won't be seeing us on the streets anymore. You know, he's going to be coming after us. That's why you're starting to see us in the mainstream now. And the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean. So pretty much, though, you know, we're going to be cut off. We're not going to be able to, the gates of mercy will no longer be open. And the devil, Esau, is going to be coming after us. So for all that, I hope this has been edifying. This is just more things, you know, as this Passover is just about through. We're going to see a lot more come to pass. We're close to this prophecy coming to pass as well. For that, I want to say Bracha Yahweh, Bracha Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakal Kadosh, Bracha Tam. Hope this has been edifying. Shalom.